I do just wanna mention, I know you've already made it down here, but, be careful of the steps and the ramp. They do get, a little slippery when it's wet. And be careful driving home tonight too, because we haven't had the greatest weather, so just be careful, okay? So we'll get this fired up. First thing we're gonna do is gonna have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank everyone for coming out. Appreciate it. We're not really going to have a business meeting, per se. We have a lot to do. We've got a lot of candidates and things like that, and we want to hear from our selectman Paul Shabori. So he's up first. Paul, come on up. What would you like to say? If you can stand, sit, wherever you want, whatever you want to do, Paul. Just make sure everybody, you might want to stand up and face everybody, where we can hear
I'm
you.
Paul Shabori. I'm up for re-election for the Board of Selectmen. I'll entertain any questions that anybody's got.
Thank you.
How do you stay so good looking?
Yeah, you should be looking from the inside out.
Who doesn't hear it?
Yeah. Mother Nature.
I have one question. The town of Marion has eliminated the Rochester residential beach passes this year. They had them last year, and it was something that you could use, like if my daughter comes from New York, I could put it in her car and she could go to the beach. So she's got 2 kids now with car seats that we need to move around if we're gonna use a different car. It doesn't make sense. Why did they remove them?
Every time Marion gets a new town administrator, we go through this. Because they don't feel that we should have that luxury. They did give us a limited number, and we are still in negotiations with them about that.
Can I make a recommendation then?
Sure.
Let's get 5 residential beach passes and let the library manage them. And give them, just like they do the state beach passes and the Whalen Museum passes, let them go in and out of the library, so that, limit it to 5.
Yeah, the library years ago, that's where they used to be able to have it. And then it started where Town Hall had it. And we had, I wanna say, I think 50 of them. And they claim that Rochester is hoarding the beach.
Anyway.
Yeah, okay. None of it makes any sense. And it's happened every time Marion gets a new town administrator.
Right.
However, what they do forget is they get all their water from us.
Thank you.
For nothing.
All right, I'll let you guys negotiate,
So,
thank you.
yeah, it has not gone over well, and we are still, we are still talking about that to try to correct it.
Thank you.
Paul, with town meeting coming up, we have Board of Selectmen, we have the Finance Committee, we have Capital Improvement Committee, or whatever it is. We have all sorts of boards and commissions. Is there a board or commission that's its sole purpose is to save the taxpayer tax dollars?
The Board of Selectmen, basically, we're trying. It's hard, we just didn't recommend the $12 million for the school, because you can't just give the school $12 million to spend any way they feel, and we had 0 documentation, so we're trying. The problem is, everybody wants more, everything costs more, as everybody knows. We try what we can to save what we can, between grants and other things. I mean, even grants, you pay for it one way or the other. Now we have to match them.
The thing is, for me, from my perspective, saving is when we don't spend the 2.5%. It goes up every year, 2.5%. Wouldn't it be fantastic for the taxpayer if one year it didn't go up 2.5%?
It would. It would.
That'd be great if it went down 2.5%.
Yeah,
So moved.
that's a dream that's probably not there. Because every contract we get, every year, everybody wants more. And we're having a problem with people poaching.
Oh, face the audience a little bit.
People are poaching from us because they can't get people to work for the towns. So what they do is, what do? They come in, Marion's a good example. We have EMTs and paramedics from other towns that work for us part-time. Well, Marion raised their hourly rate 3 years ago. And then they raised it again the following year. And this year they raised it to $30 an hour. So we have to come in, be not to the $30, but to a reasonable place to keep these people. And as soon as we do that, then somebody else raises it. We're always behind the 8 ball because nobody can get people to do the work for them, and the only way they can do it is raise the pays. We're having that problem with police officers. Every town around us is paying far more than we pay. And we're at the point where we just can't. There's not enough money there. We have to live within our, within 2.5 and within our levy, and it's getting harder and harder all the time. We just had 4 officers leave for $2 to $3 an hour more. And the last contract that we gave the police, we gave them 13% over 3 years to try to get us in the ballpark. And now we're not in the ballpark anymore. But there's only so much. I mean, we can try here and there, but it's getting harder and harder all the time. And we don't have enough business in town to offset. Marion and Mattapoisett have far more business than us, so their business tax basis is much better. Ours, thankfully we have CMAS, but we don't have much of anything else. And it's all on the homeowners. And between the schools, and schools are up to, I believe, not counting their retirement, is up to 60, I think it's 63% of the levy. That doesn't leave much left. You count Old Colony, ORR, and Memorial. And the rest is for everything else. That doesn't leave much. And count in the retirement, and you're probably closer to 70%.
As far as this Marion thing's concerned, they're looking to buy 62 acres in Rochester in the Zone 2. Tell them no.
That we did. We backed away from that because they backed away from it. Now they want to do it again, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't want any part of it. And if they want to start playing ball with us and being reasonable, they may do that.
And I think somebody ought to sit down with like the Water Commission and tell us what's going on, because we may have a chance to put in a few words here or there too.
It's still in talks, and they've been really quiet about it for the last couple of months, because they thought we would just sit back and not do anything.
Okay.
Man, you had a question?
I did, but I don't want to interrupt. Well, I was just I understand why you didn't feel comfortable with the $12 million bond. As the select board, I feel like you didn't get enough time to go through everything.
Didn't get
and
enough
have
information.
debate. Did you guys get this report? Because that's what we saw as a school committee.
We got this the day after. This we should have got 2 weeks before the warrant,
Yes.
before we signed the warrant.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
And I don't disagree with, there's probably work that needs to be done for school. What I disagree with is they waited till all this stuff piled up. Things like doors, locks, windows. We don't ever get a $12 million request from Old Colony. Every once in a while they come after us, not after us, but they ask for, I think the last time it was $300,000 to do rooftop units, which are old. That building is old. We've never spent much money on it. It's been very well taken care of within their budget, most of the time. We've spent a lot of money at ORI, a lot of money. And the fact that they came up with this the day after, they knew it was on the warrant, and all the article said was, well, give us $12 million and we'll spend it wisely.
What David said is, we got that, on the school committee, we got that March 28th.
Yeah, that's when we should have got this,
And you didn't get it then?
and we didn't get it.
Okay. Because I did want people to understand that we didn't just vote on $12 million with no information.
I understand.
So I'm glad that,
and I
to hear
kinda
that you
understand that.
should have gotten it earlier.
They should have gotten this to us so that we would have had a reason and some information to think about. And to me, you're gonna borrow $12 million over 25 years, so we're gonna pay for this for 25 years. Some of this should have been done within the budget or within the capital, Because some of it we could have done within capital over a period of years and not borrowed money. And I'm not against maintaining schools. And I think education is very important. However, to ask right now the residents of Rochester to come up with that money, and we're gonna pay for it for 25 years, for some of this. I mean, some of it is capital, some of it is big stuff. The big stuff I understand, but there's a lot of this that's routine maintenance. It should have been done over the last 5 years. I mean, there's a couple of doors that are a problem. You can replace doors within your budget. Or come to the capital committees in the 3 towns and say, okay, we need X number of dollars to fix this stuff. Instead of coming at us for $12 million.
Well, wait a second, you're gonna issue a bond for $12 million. What's your current bond rate?
I don't know, because it wouldn't be us that borrows the money, it would be the school.
Yes, 5%?
It's probably between 5 and 6%.
5 and 6%. Okay. So you're not gonna, it's not $12 million.
Oh,
Just
no,
everybody
that's what I
understands
say,
that.
it's over 25 years.
It's more than double.
Oh, of course.
It's 1.5 times.
Right. So, that's what,
So it's not just $12 million.
right. I mean, you do this stuff and you borrow.
And what about all the repairs over those 25 years? Well, this is being paid.
That's why some of this could have been done, this could have been laid out much, that we have, the town has a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, we try to look out so that we're not gonna borrow a huge sum of money to do normal things that need to be done. And sometimes you have to put things on hold, but I just, like I say, this could have been far, far better. And it bothers me that we're gonna spend money over a period of 25 years to do what should be some of this routine maintenance.
Yeah.
Not to let your school get in this state after we spent a lot of money to rebuild it. And now we're gonna spend a whole lot of money to fix what some of it should have been done. That's why we have a facilities director, is to do some of the stuff as over a period of 5 years and not have to borrow that kind of money. If we had done this, if they would have come at us with this when interest rates were at 1%, well, then it's more palatable. Even then, it's still a lot of money. We have to pay it back. We still gotta pay it back. And we're, we spend a lot of money on schools, we do. And it's not like the three towns don't, and Rochester doesn't support our schools. They do, tremendously. That's my feeling.
Thank you.
Paul, in Rochester, we have a mix of elected officials, some of them are board officials, and others are really department heads, like highway surveyor and others. So excluding the department heads, who longevity is a value for, would you support a change in the bylaw to have a term limit of 3 terms for any board member?
I don't see where that's a bad thing.
We talk about term limits at the higher
Every-
levels.
Yeah,
And I don't think it would hurt Rochester to have term limits either, because what you wind up with is embedded people who just get elected over and over and over and over from inertia. And they're not necessarily working hard at it.
as far as I'm concerned, I feel this is my last term.
Well, would you,
I was happy to do, actually, I wasn't gonna run again.
yeah,
And I was asked if I would please just stay on one more term. And if I didn't get in, I didn't get in. I mean, I've been happy to do what I've been doing, but I feel I've been there long enough. And the first term is education. You get dumped into that, and it's a lot. There's a lot of stuff that you learn that you're not aware of. There's a lot of things that go on, rules, regulations, just in how you do things. So the first term, yeah, you're there, and you kind of get the lay of the land. The second term, yeah, you try to do the best you can. I feel this, if the town decides to reelect me, that I think this is enough.
so limiting it to 3 terms might also encourage people who want to stay involved over a lifetime to join other boards,
Well,
where they could bring expertise.
Because we do have a problem with getting people on all the other boards.
Yeah, so I serve on 2 boards, and it's very helpful.
Yeah.
So, would you, as a selectman, put in a warrant for the specialist, there is one in the fall or in the spring, term limit for board officials?
If the rest of the board goes along with it, yes.
I know at least one of your board members will, so.
I don't like the fact that people get embedded in any positions, because after a while, I think you don't see everything.
Well, we set good examples in Rochester, we got rid of the green initiative, and now other towns are following, and so term limits
Was
would
a
be a
great
good
thing.
one. Yep.
We are very fortunate in this town that we have some pretty smart people that if you plant the seed, then they go along with the right thing to do. And that was the right thing to do. It was overreaching. It cost people way too much money, and the benefit did not outweigh, it didn't even come close to making that worthwhile.
But, well, I look forward to raising my hand in favor of that motion when I see it on town meeting.
Okay.
All right.
Ben, I'll second you.
Anything else for Paul while he's here?
Paul, I got one question.
Sure.
We had a discussion here last year sometime about the state was maybe gonna mandate us to take on 750 units of low-income housing because of the MBTA tracks going through.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anything more, but several communities in Massachusetts, I believe Milton, Marblehead, Hopedale, and some others,
Middleborough, I think.
Middleborough have come out.
Yes, Middleborough just got.
And basically told the state, go pound town,
Yeah.
you're not doing it. Has Rochester heard anything more about them trying to force that down our throats? And number two, have you guys discussed anything about drafting a letter in support of the towns that are against having it?
We got involved with Dartmouth on that. And, the 40R that is supposed to go in up at the old RF Morse property will cover us for probably 25 years. It's not perfect. It's better than 40B. 40B is horrible, absolutely horrible. It could possibly bankrupt the town because of the cost. So the 40R will cover us, and they won't be able to mandate any of that. And we're not a MBTA community, we are an adjacent community. So the state didn't like that. So they're trying to make everybody do their dirty work. And in Rochester, we can't. We don't have, first off, we don't have sewer, we don't have town water. That makes it near impossible to do what they want to do. You can't put in the kind of housing units they want if you don't have the infrastructure, and we don't. And our zoning rules go against what they want to do anyway. So I don't think they're gonna bother as much about that because of what we've done. And we have, we drafted a letter to Dartmouth to get into, because they were taking the lead on this to push back. And it's a real problem. We had a representative, the governor has hired a rural communities representative. And she came down to meet with us. And then the reason that the governor hired this person was they want everything regionalized. Police, fire, EMS, communications, they want everything regionalized. And regionalization doesn't work. It's a proven fact. It does not work. It sounds good on paper, looks good. On the surface, it looks good financially. Underneath, it's a bad idea. It takes your autonomy away. You wind up, we got into the regional communications. It's horrible. And we're the low-hanging fruit. So we don't have much say in what goes on. And you can't fix anything that's wrong. And it's great right now, but when the state stops putting money into it, it's gonna become a problem. Because at some point, it's gonna happen, because the regionalization, it started out gangbusters and now it's at a stop. Because nobody wants to do it, nobody. They've watched and they've seen what happened to communities that did it, and it's not a good thing. Our problem is once you give up what they call a PSAT, which is the 911 terminal, once they take that away, it's an act of God to get it back. And we're just gonna have to wait and see we just signed a 1-year contract, and we're gonna see how the next year goes. They've hired a new director in Duxbury. We'll see. I'm not that confident, but in a year, we're gonna have to make a decision to see which way we go. But we are still, that's still very active. Because it's a big problem. It was a backdoor way of getting some of these programs and things that the state thinks everybody should do. And it's great, but you can't do it in a town like Rochester. We don't have sewer, we don't have water. You can't put houses on top of each other. You can't have multiple dwellings on a 2-acre lot. It's just not gonna work. So,
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul, appreciate it.